Hello, everyone. It's that time for the JMOR Tech Talk Show, where we answer questions about technology, explain the way they should work, and why they don't sometimes. And now here's your host, John C. Morley. Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to the JMOR Tech Talk Show. It's another wonderful Friday tonight, isn't it, Marcus?
Absolutely, John. We have made it to the end of the week unscathed.
Another week, and now we have so I'm not going to comment on good, bad, or anything, but it'll be different, and hopefully there'll be some changes.
Yeah. Looking forward to see what the new presidential term will bring.
I'm looking for as well. Well, welcome, Marcus. Thank you again for being such a trusty co-host. And let's get on with tonight's show. So when we're talking about technology, gaming, I think a lot of times people talk about gaming, but for whatever reason, they don't put the emphasis on things that really are going to drive home like an amazing, immersive playing experience. I think because it costs money. The other reason is because I think people have been scammed by lots of technology that's out there. So there is one I want to talk about tonight. It's called Padipata. That's Padipata. It's say that a million times fast, right? It's an interactive punching bag. It has a light, basically spot guidance. It is music interactive. There's courses. It has an interactive gaming experience. And this is something that's starting to really pick up. It did come out a while back, but lots of people are starting to use this, not just celebrities, but I guess it gives people an excuse to gym equipment. Is that what it is, Marcus?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting out of it. And but for the price tag, you better use it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, something like this, it looks, like I said, really nice. And they have a smaller version, a larger version. And the thing about it is you will notice that they actually do not put the price tag on their website. So when they don't put a price tag on the website, I'm guessing it's more than $1,000.
Yeah. I for one, I was very interested in it when you brought it up. So I already took the sneak peek at what some of these tags run about, and they are
Okay.
pretty hefty.
Where would you know what type of prices we're talking?
We're talking 1,200 and up.
Okay, so we are talking. We're talking a few $1,000s. So we're not like 10,000. So it is going to be
No,
kind of a
no.
modest investment. But again, it's just a bag and it has some sensors on it. And I think where they're really making their money, Marcus, is not in the product itself. I think they're making it in the courses and the interactive programs that you basically have to get involved in if you have this device. Because what are you going to do? Just buy a punching bag and just punch it and listen to music? I think there's got to be more to it than that. So I think they got a very captive market. What do you think?
I think so too. This is definitely something that is going to make it a little bit more interactive than just punching a bag. And the old punching bag thing, yeah, it can be like work.
And you're gonna have the music. I know when I do my walk, I always like putting on my Bluetooth headphones and listening to something inspirational. And that hour walk doesn't seem really very long. On my way back, it's like, wow, where did that half hour go? Wow, I'm actually over an hour. Wow, that was a very quick walk. And then the breeze, and as long as you're comfortable and not too cold, I think technology can really motivate us to work out, and I think it can give us a reason to be doing something. Maybe we don't necessarily want to do directly, but it just kind of makes it a little more bearable, right? When we can add music or add something to listen to while we're doing something else.
Yeah, generally that's the idea. And I think they might have nailed it right here.
I think so too. I think the price tag needs to come down a little bit. That's my feeling. If this price tag could come down under $1,000, I believe they would get a lot more people that would probably plop down and want to try this. I also didn't see any money back guarantee. I don't know what the tech support was like, but it seems like you have to go through a form, and it doesn't seem like you're going to have support right at your fingertips.
That could be troubling, John. And you know
Yeah.
what that say. You know what you say about that. You're going to be going through the email game.
Yeah, you're going to be going through the email or you're going to be going through chat. And then when you finally get somebody, you're going to talk to them. And then you're going to just explain to them your problem. And they're going to get all annoyed with you because they think you're yelling at them. And all you're trying to do is explain the situation. And you're just frustrated because you understand English. I was on with someone not too long ago, and I was very, very kind. And I said to them, I don't think you understand English. And with all due respect, maybe you should check out Babbel, or maybe you should check out, something else like another language learning program, because you're really starting to, how can I say, not give good customer service. That's probably the best way I can put it, right?
Right.
So
Precisely.
as we think of these, different types of technology out there, the future is remote work. And a lot of remote work, believe it or not, Marcus, is getting into gaming. There are so many different jobs now for people that are actually getting into some type of immersive gaming experience. And whether that be doing it for work or maybe just test piloting something and actually getting paid a nice chunk of change to give reviews on how to do stuff. So I think that's an interesting thing to what's happening. But I don't know. When we talk about virtual reality, it does kind of put a few people on the fence, doesn't it?
It does. I think this is a generation thing that they are looking at, and I think this is what kind of driving that, because you got the millennials, of course, that you want to kind of keep engaged on at work, and who knows, people might have been gaming doing work anyways, and so they might have figured like, hey, we might as well kind of incorporate this.
Exactly. It's like now these apps are getting more ways for people to spend money. So now you're home or you buy something, but when you buy something, Marcus, it's like this product doesn't work unless you pay for a prescription like a subscription, like the mirror or something like that. I mean, it's useless without the subscription plan.
Right.
So I think this is where everything is going. They're trying to get people down this rabbit hole. Not that it's a bad rabbit hole, but I just feel that they're not really being upfront with people about what they need to, get when you buy this product. The product's not going to do anything because you have to buy a subscription plan. So now you spend a few $1,000s on a mirror or something, and it doesn't do anything until you pay for a plan because your first 30 days is all you get. And I just don't think they're being upfront with people about that.
That's pretty sneaky. And, we're still in the pandemic era, and there's not a lot of people with a huge bank account to be able to afford just being deceived this way.
So it's definitely a sneaky play, but something really interesting. One of the world's fastest growing startups burned through 300 million.
Oh, geez. This is terrifying.
Jason Goldberg's e-commerce company, Fab.com, was once valued at $1 billion. 3 years later, it was one of the biggest startup flops in history.
Oh, wow. This is pretty concerning.
No, this is crazy. I mean, when you have an idea to do something, it's great. But I think it just comes down that if you're going to do something and make it a hobby, then don't turn it into a business, okay? Because when you try to have a business and then make your business a hobby, that's a problem. If you have a hobby and go into a business and you start adapting business principles, well, that's fine. But don't go the reverse way. So Fab had raised $336 million since rebranding itself as an e-commerce platform around 2011. And at one point, they were valued at $1 billion. It had 750 employees on multiple continents. Pretty interesting. And an enormous warehouse stocked with millions of products. Now, the company was selling for less than 1/10 of its original valuation. Something went wrong in that plan. And this guy had experienced ups and downs before, but this was different. This was really a major screw up. It's like, you want to do something, but you didn't do a market study to see if it was even feasible, or do people even want your product?
Yeah, you definitely got to turn your head at the CEO and then ask yourself, what were the board members thinking as well? How come they did not check this guy and ask this guy, what direction are we going into once they start seeing the money just plummet?
I think what you have to do, whether it's a call campaign, whether it's a sales campaign, or whatever it is, you have to set measurable goals. And then you have to keep yourself and your team accountable to those goals. And if you see the goals are not reaching where they're supposed to be in a certain period of time, you have to step in and say, hey, we got to make some adjustments. And if you can't get them to even the minimal level by a certain date, and you know what the resources are going to cost to possibly, even waste money to try to get there, you have to figure out that up front to say, hey, this doesn't make sense. And after 4 weeks, we have to cut our losses and just stop this and go a different way. So this kid, he grew up in Rockville, Maryland, and he was always the first one in the neighborhood to get the newest computer when it came out. He spent his early days programming on an Atari 400 with his dad. I remember the Atari. I actually had an Atari 800. I remember that. And when I got the program, not to take a tangent here, but that's when my parents learned that I was, let's say, a prodigy, because when I was doing programming, I actually didn't have anything to program with other than in school. When they bought me this Atari, they won it. I didn't play any of the video games that it came with. It came with loads of video games. I took out the cartridge and I put BASIC in there. Beginners, all-purpose, symbolic instructional code. And I started writing video games and writing things instead of playing with all these characters and stuff like that. So I can definitely attest to how that feels. And later, he was an undergrad at Emory University and was drawn to a different field of machinery, which is now politics. And in 1991, Goldberg took a hiatus from the college to work on Bill Clinton's presidential campaign. When Clinton won, Goldberg was hired as a special assistant to the president's chief of staff, and he was there when the internet was first implemented at the White House in 1994. He also witnessed firsthand the gold rush opportunities it ushered in. So at the height of the dot-com bubble, which was just about bursting in 1998, he packed his bags for California, where he earned an MBA at Stanford and developed digital strategies for AOL, Time Warner, and T-Mobile. See, this is the thing. A lot of people think that you can just go back and get a degree, and I have nothing against getting a degree, but you really have to have a direction, don't you? I mean, you can't just go get something. What are you going to do with that degree?
Yeah, a lot of people tend to really wave the degree in front of your faces and tell you like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. But at the same token, on the other hand, have no life experience. And as you mentioned, John, no direction, no vision.
And he decided, after working for AOL, Time Warner, and the T-Mobile set of companies, he decided to go out on his own. And in 2002, Goldberg felt he had the tools to build his own startup. 2 years of planning went into this by himself and a close friend. They moved to Seattle and they launched Jobster, a B2B job referral site. Then they tried to do things with LinkedIn, and the company raised $52.5 million from investors. And it was cited as one of Seattle's fastest growing companies. In a very unorthodox move for a young startup, Goldberg used the new capital, listen to this, to buy out a series of other companies and scaling the team at lightning speed. That was a little dangerous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. So,
he's not a large corporation that's on the stock market, and even those companies have to be careful. But with this little enigma, he believed that he was headed for success. And I want to quote what he said. We were so focused on growth that the product itself suffered. That's the problem. We were so focused on growth that the product itself suffered. And I also want to quote, we were good at selling a vision, but we weren't able to deliver on the products we promised. You see, a lot of times, Marcus, people have these great visions, and they go to implement them, but then they get so hung up on the vision that they don't do what's necessary to make a product any good. It seems great. They design a very catchy, flashy, sexy bag, I'll call it, or wrapper, and then you unwrap the candy or you unwrap the present, and there's nothing in there but paper mache.
Yeah. And like you said, when there's nothing but paper mache in there, it's easily crumbled up and it's down to nothing. Just like this guy, and of course he was honest enough to take the blame. Here, as we read down further in the article, he said it was all his blame. But yeah, this we got to take from these stories. We can't just put the horse before the cart. As the old cliche says.
A lot of times you get a professional company because they have this great big name, and they're on Wall Street, or they spend billions of dollars in advertising. I have to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't mean they're any good. All right, they may have convinced you that they know what they're doing. But when you sit down with them and when they start telling you that they're going to be billing you to learn about your company and they have no clue, well, you're with the wrong company. Now, I'm not saying they're going to know everything about your business, but they should have some idea of where to go with your type of business. So Goldberg, as well as many other people in our world, they waste time, Marcus, because they get hung up on the vision, which I think is important, but you have to really look at what is it that you're building and what is your outcome? Like, where do you want to go with this? And if you can't answer those kinds of questions, how am I different than somebody else? Is there a market for my product or my service? Where am I going to get potential clients from to start? Do I have seed money to work with? Or am I going to take the risk of trying to get evangelists and then realizing that I'm going to be putting my life on the line because I'm not going to be able to make many decisions because he or she is going to basically be the one controlling the company? I think a lot of people don't realize the cost. It's like when you build a house. You have an estimate for what the house should be, right? But then there's always a budget. And then you could go way over that budget, can't you? By changing the tiles, by changing, let's say, the finishes, or even changing the amount of glass, or the molding, crown molding, etc. Or maybe changing a room, or something as simple as making your basement a finished basement. And if you can't understand, what your buffer is, well, then I think you got to figure that out first before you should even put a shovel in the ground. What do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, I'm right there with you all the way. I think so many times people can definitely look at the house, but they don't see the, all of the framework, necessary to keep it standing, and the plumbing that's going to be necessary to keep running, and you got to be able to dream and have the same dream continuous every day, and hold on to that dream. And some people just fascinated with like just what they're looking at on the outside, and don't have it in there. So
it doesn't have to be in a gold book like Goldberg did and many other people, and I've done this as well. I've written my ideas at a diner or a restaurant on a napkin. And we laugh at that, but that was the first time I put the ideas on not paper, but a material. Nobody said you had to put them on paper, right?
Right.
And when you can do that and make something formal, because when you put it on the computer, it becomes very formal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when you can just have a conversation and put something on a napkin or on the back of a menu, it just seems like play. And my advice to people is that, when you want to do something new, play with it, okay? Don't rush into it immediately. And then figure out what are the resources you're going to need. The technology, do you have the resources to build the project yourself? Do you have the resources and time? So you have to really think about those things. And then you have to set not just a goal, but you have to come up with a way to measure whether you're going to be successful or not. And if you're not successful, you have to be man enough or lady enough, gender here, not specific, to, I guess, turn the ship around. If it's slightly or on a dime, if need be, to get it back on track. Because sometimes you just get down all these side streets and you're just so far off from the beaten path. And you wonder, what was it we were doing? We were making cookies, or we were creating a company to make pictures? Oh, yeah, we build bridges now. Well, there's nothing even related to that. So I think that's where Goldberg went wrong, Marcus.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so hard to just put your brain in multiple areas, before you realize you're splattering your brains all over the place. So So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I'll give you an example. I mean, they were spending 14 million a month. Okay, look at what your
yeah,
money is coming in. Okay,
hmm
we always say you should do a third, a third, and a third, right? And one of
right,
those thirds should be used for R&D and to help grow the company. You don't spend the whole 10 million or 12 million. You got to have a plan. And then if that plan isn't yielding things, you got to have a plan B. You got to know that if you spend, let's just call it $1,000 or $2,000, you got to understand that if you spend that money, that's a risk, okay? But you also have to understand that by spending that money, there's a chance it could work, there's a chance it may not. When you spend that money, don't go spending more money until you first see if the money you spent has gone somewhere, if you're going to spend it on the same kind of thing. And what they did was they invested in so much inventory logistics. They tried to become an Amazon overnight and they flopped.
yeah,
And then the board blames everyone else. And of course, they're going to blame the person with the idea because that's the person that they claim is responsible for the company failing. So it's a very sad story, but you just have to focus. I mean, I think he had the potential, to be honest with you, to become a Facebook or become an Amazon. He had the potential, and they didn't make cuts. They didn't monitor what was going on. And this is something else that's really important, is you never want to grow fast.
right.
And the reason I say that is because if you grow too fast and you don't have the resources to handle that growth, you're going to look terrible. And not only are you going to have problems keeping up with things, you're going to get a bad reputation. So there's a strategy, and there's a reason why schools teach that $1 million or $1 billion business, it's not built overnight. It's built after years of reviewing things. I mean, you can get lucky and things can happen overnight, but that's not usually the norm. It's not the norm. But so thinking about a company, how they could go through $300 million, probably will boggle your mind. And all it comes down to is there was no governance in that company. We've used that word a lot, haven't we, over the last few months?
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it's kind of where the world is going now, 2021 and going further. Governance has to be on technology. It has to be on people. It has to be on business. And we have to understand what we're regulating and not regulating. And what are the consequences if we don't? And sometimes I believe we're too afraid to step in and say, hey, what do I do if it fails? Well, if it fails, pick yourself up and do something else. But don't keep dumping money down a rabbit hole, that isn't going to produce anything. Right?
I agree. You have definitely just offered up some real important advice to a lot of people out there, and I think people should really, hone on to that.
Thank you. We've all heard the phrase, don't let your friends drive drunk. We've all heard that before. But I bet you've never heard the phrase before, friends don't let friends get tracked.
Absolutely. This is my first time hearing that one, but that's a very good one. It's a very good slogan, and I love what DuckDuckGo is doing with this.
I do too. I have to tell you, DuckDuckGo.com is a website, but it's actually a search engine that you can use instead of Google or other search engines. So why would you want to switch to DuckDuckGo.com? So there's no cost to switch to DuckDuckGo.com. You just go to not Duck Duck Goose in case you're trying to go that way, DuckDuckGo.com. And when you go to that webpage, you'll be able to install the program on your computer. What it does is it's actually a DuckDuckGo.com privacy filter. And what it's really, reporter is what I should say, because it doesn't filter, it really reports. It tells you whether the site you're visiting has a good level of privacy. And if it doesn't, it lets you know. So it lets you know if there's an encrypted connection. Is anyone tracking you right now? Is good practices and privacy policies being upheld by this site? Yes or no? Okay. Well, let's just go to another website. I don't know. Let's go to Google just for the heck of it. Okay. And when we go to google.com, okay, I see we have an encrypted connection. I see there's 0 trackers found, but a real big one here, ladies and gentlemen, there's poor privacy practices. Here's what it says. They can use your content for all their future services. They can track you on other websites, and then logs are kept forever. So what you didn't know, my friends, when you use Google, and in case you're wondering if you happen to want to use Yahoo, okay, Yahoo actually has encrypted connection, 0 trackers found. But when we get to the privacy policies, theirs is interesting. They don't publicize it. It's unknown privacy practices. So it seems like it's green. It gives Yahoo a B+. So it rates them, which I think is really cool, Marcus. It actually gives Google a C+. So Yahoo seems to have, on the surface, a better privacy grade. So you can download that from DuckDuckGo.com. So what does that actually mean? Well, that's a great question. So DuckDuckGo actually is a browser you can use. And you could set it to be your default homepage. And on that page, they tell you things like explain how Google tracks you and the fact that we don't. DuckDuckGo apps block Google's hidden trackers. You can get unbiased results outside the filter bubble, and you can stand up for being pro privacy and for business. And I think it's just amazing. Now, the one thing I want to share with you about DuckDuck.com, it's not Google and it's not Yahoo, but again, they don't track you. DuckDuckGo has I guess a cute little duck with a yellow mallard and a green tie. And if I type something like weather, for example, the search engine is a little bit different than the other ones, okay? But I got to tell you, it brought my local town's weather up in literally 30 seconds. If I go over to Google and I type the word weather, let's just see what that pulls up. Well, it does pull up information as well. But the problem, again, with the one about Google is that they're tracking everything I search. And that's on their servers forever. That's a problem. That's why I tell people, if you ever post something on the web, especially on Google, Facebook, it's there for life. So you really have to be careful, where you post stuff. And that goes for Tumblr and a lot of the other social networks. They don't have to take your post down. Some of them will let you. Others say it's your problem, pretty much. So try DuckDuckGo.com. I think you're going to be really pleased with it. I think there needs to be more standards, Marcus, in the way privacy is being upheld in our country and around the world. And DuckDuckGo is just a real friendly way to spread the love of keeping your searches private. Now, if you're on Google, you can go, or I should say Firefox, and you go to the little open menu and you click on where it says new private window. They're saying that window, okay, is actually private. So when I look at it, it says here there's 0 trackers found, but poor privacy practices. So the thing about it is that even though it's a private window, I don't trust Google. I just don't. And it still gives a private window a C+. And I think it's because of the privacy grade. That's why. But it says poor privacy practices. So you can go try out duckduckgo.com. Try it out. Let us know what you think about it. Again, it is a little bit different than the other search engines. It may not be as pretty, but hey, I'll sacrifice some glamour for some privacy, wouldn't you, Marcus?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you got so much lurking going on, and you definitely want to get away from this stuff. And if you're all about being pro privacy, this is the way to go.
Yes. So start spreading the movement, and once you do go to duckduckgo.com, make sure you set that as your default homepage. Otherwise, when you load your browser, you'll be going to MSN, Google, or some other search engine, and that would defeat the whole purposes of going to DuckDuckGo in the first place. All right, so keeping ourselves secure is always very important. But, you know, strategies to improve efficiency and long-term stability of perovskite solar cells is something that's been amazing in the news right now. Over the past few years, researchers have been trying to develop new concepts for these cells that would basically affect their performance and improve their stability over time. And they're hoping that one of the ways they may do this is to combine 2D and 3D halide perovskites in order to leverage the properties of the two different types of cells. So I think it's on the right track. They're going to provide something that is going to have a smaller footprint, have less energy consumption, and be a lot more reliable. So again, as we're getting more into things with solar, whether that be for your building, whether that be for your IoT, and don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, if robots and other IoT devices, we already see it now for these signs. When you get those flashing signs, Marcus, and you drive by and they tell you how much you're doing flashing, then you're going too fast. And a lot of them now, they're actually powered by solar.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And who would have knew?
Yep. So solar is really kind of amazing. And I know some people now, want to have, their address lit up. And sometimes if it's a power outage for many hours, you're not going to see the person's house. Let's say if the emergency vehicles, fire, EMT, or ambulance have to come to your home. Well, what are they going to have to do? Play detective to find your address and hope they get the right one? Wouldn't it be better to have like a number that actually lights up because it was charged all day from the sun, and this way they could actually find you? I think that's pretty cool.
That'll be so cool, and that will solve so many troubles, even if we didn't even have it for emergency purposes. Like, when you think about addresses, they are hard to find, like even, when there's no street lights.
Exactly. And I find one of the biggest problems, Marcus, when there is a power outage, I'm not sure if this happens by you a lot, when the power goes out, some of the lights that you need to make left-hand turns, well, they're not functioning. And suddenly they have decommissioned all left-hand turns, and everything is now right-hand turns. And one way on the traffic, and that other lane is got cones down it.
Yeah, we have definitely had that issue before. So, yeah, that's not.
In fact, you know what they do, and I learned about this not too long ago. If you look at your intersection, you will see that there looks to be like a stop sign, but it's folded up. And if you're wondering why that's there, I'm going to share a little secret with you. When your power goes out, that's your town's backup plan for keeping things safe at the intersection. They unfurl those stop signs, and everyone has to stop at a 3-way or 4-way intersection first before going. Not the greatest thing, but it's still a lot better than everybody all going at once.
A little bit of a traffic insight there. I love it, John.
So thank you. So, we've been talking about robots a lot, right? And how they are going to be doing so many things for us. We talked about that one friendly robot that's going to pour you and your date a glass of wine And hopefully you don't get on the robot's nerves. Otherwise, it'll be throwing the wine at you and your date, which that would never end well. But anyway, a new Wi-Fi based system for collaborative robotics is being announced. It's called WSR. So this is going to be a way that robotics can actually communicate better with each other, and the robots don't have to all be stationary. In the past, you had to have one robot that was actually not moving and the others could be moving, but the ones that were transmitting, so they had to be stopped. Now they all can move around and be able to transmit and receive, very similar to the way your GPS does in the car, only that actually transmits to a satellite in space. But now they're trying to develop that on Earth, and this is actually coming to us from Harvard University. So a neat little system, and the system is presented in a paper that they pre-published on the ARXIV, and they say that you can essentially emulate antenna arrays in air as a robot moves freely in a 2D or a 3D plane environment. So this is going to really be a game changer for how robots communicate as they're moving around, outside, or they're in a home. But I think a lot when you talk about things like drones, and there's multiple drones. Let's take Amazon, for example, or Walmart, and there's several drones in the air, and we don't want them to hit each other, so they need to be able to communicate. But if they weren't quite sure about their triangulation or the positioning, that may not end well and could be very expensive for the company doing logistics, because they'd have a bunch of robot drones that have basically got destroyed. So with this method, they're able to get a visual field from one robot to the other, and they're actually able to use what's in their surrounding areas. So if you have one robot, another robot across from it, it can send and receive signals, and they also can balance with the walls. So this way, they get better usage of the actual walls. Now, another constraint that they actually relaxed in the paper was the requirement for a Wi-Fi signal transmitting robot to remain stationary, as I mentioned to you, while the receiving robot moves and generates what they call an AOA profile, which is a special type of profile, which is allowing it to keep track of where it is and communicate a lot more efficiently. So I want to quote here, the system they develop essentially captures information of all the Wi-Fi signal paths traveling between a transmitting and a receiving robot. Jadhav explained, and I quote again, "It does so by leveraging the receiving robot's trajectory to emulate a virtual antenna array, something akin to Cynic aperture radar," very similar to what we see in the military, and they're always years and years ahead of the civilian products. And what they do is they trace an antenna array in the air, and then they can use direction of arrival, or a DOA algorithm, which is what that stands for. And the algorithm is based on the antenna array, for example, like music, etc., to estimate the direction of the strongest signal path. So what the main summary of this WSR is, we've all had Wi-Fi in our home, right, Marcus? We've all experienced situations where our Wi-Fi drops out. Maybe it's not the latest Wi-Fi. Maybe there's interference. And there's lots of things we can talk about, like, MAC encryption, hiding your SSID, but beyond that. And let's talk about the signal. If we could have a system, almost like an artificial intelligence, if you will, that learns the best way to communicate with all your devices, it's going to basically step up the reliability and the performance of the device, because there's going to be fewer times when the device is not able to communicate. And it's going to build a database of the best paths to communicate on an ongoing basis.
Yeah,
what do you think of that technology, Marcus?
That's freaking amazing, and truly awesome. And just knowing that is full mission capable, I can really see it as coming into being available right away. This type of technology has been worked on, as per mentioned, in the military for quite some time. and not, in this particular way, but for it to be used like this, this is going to be pretty amazing.
I believe, and I'm just speculating here, that our military and our government probably has something very similar to this. It's called something different, but this is a different type of protocol. And again, it's using Wi-Fi, but it's using it in a way that is going to allow civilian as well as business devices like robots, drones, maybe floor robots, and things of that nature to make sure we know the positioning of them at all times and make sure that there's always the best way to communicate to that. So one example of this might be a hospital. And let's say that there are maybe different stations where they've done IV and they have pumps, or maybe they have devices that manage people's heart rates just to kind of check on them like monitors. And these devices, if you will, could all actually be part of this, because if the person is moving around, then they would be a perfect candidate for this system. If they were stationary, then we wouldn't need this system. But if they're moving around and the things that we're starting to triangulate or get an actual perspective location on are around the hospital or in all different places, and they're all moving, well, then I think this might actually aid the medical field. This could aid the transportation field. This could aid the security field. There's so many industries, Marcus, that I can see this device helping.
Yeah, it's definitely going to transcend across so many different industries, and going to definitely boost the productivity of these industries, and really upgrade the way things are being done already. So just expect the changes.
So again, it is a new type of protocol is how I'm defining it. It has not been adapted by like an 802.11 or one of those standards yet. It has not been adopted by that or an OSI model. So it's the WSR. It is the Wi-Fi system for collaborative robotics. We call it WSR for short. And when we think of robotics, remember, robotics is nothing more than a device that has some sensors on it, usually will communicate via Wi-Fi, and needs to gather information. Now, in the prior days, there was no need to communicate with a cloud or anything like that, because robots were not really part of an AI network. They would do a task, and they were very limited to what they could do, but they never could learn. Imagine now, with this technology, helping what we have, which is robots that can actually learn to do new things. So let's just say, for example, you had a device that you got, and let's say that device was a drone. Well, through technology, that drone is able to fly back and forth. But maybe by learning new technology that's being sent to it, that may do things like increase the level of where this drone can fly, maybe increase the speed, maybe even give it possibilities like changing how well we can steer. Because again, the device would be able to learn, and can learn not just from itself, but from the cloud. So that means that all the devices around the world that are part of this network that we talk about would be able to share information. But again, it's a security issue, right? Yeah. So I can see this being department stores. There's one device right now, you might know it. It's called Marty. Have you ever heard of Marty?
Yep. Remember us talking about Marty before.
Oh, you were? Okay. So Marty is at your local superstore, a supermarket. And do you know what Marty does?
He greets the customers.
Close. He actually doesn't greet the customers. He actually he has an interesting purpose. A lot of times people in the store spill things, right? His job is to monitor the floors. And when there's a spill, he doesn't clean it up, though. He just calls out over the PA system by sending an announcement telling what aisle needs assistance for cleanup.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's come back to me. Yeah. So I remember that.
So it'd be nice. So, but a feature like what you just said about greeting the customers, well, if he was part of the AI network, he'd be able to learn that ability if he had those sensors. And if you remember, Marty was not very cheap.
No, he wasn't. Marty was very expensive.
Yeah, he's not very cheap. And the thing about Marty is that he's a robot that goes around. I believe he can do some vacuuming too. But, and he has these eyes. And if you get close to him, well, he basically freaks out and kind of just stops. And they're now trying to use them for things like security. But his main goal is to keep the stores, clean. And that when there is a danger in those stores, that he can alert people so they can respond. But the feeling of shopping amidst this device kind of bothers some people because they don't necessarily know what to do, what to say. And Marty's not that intelligent. He basically just connects to the PA system over the Wi-Fi network and sends one of so many signals, and that automatically tells them which place to go clean up. And then when he's all done, he goes and parks himself back at his charger base, ready to come out again. So that just gives you an example of what devices can do if they have the sensors on board and if they are AI enabled, which just means that the robot or the computer can learn from it or from another network of information. But really, the whole goal is that it learns. So that's something I think that's going to be pretty amazing. It's going to change the way robots interact around the world. And I think it's even going to help the efficiency of robots, whether that be on production lines. Maybe there's a problem with one particular machine. It might be able to communicate to the other one and say, hey, I'm having a problem. Could you help me out? I've got a slip disc, or my tire's flat. Could you help me out with this task?
That's going to be cool. I think they definitely will want that feature. As you know, who wants to constantly send someone out to keep these things serviced? So having them learn how to repair themselves would definitely be ideal.
It's going to be neat. And I think the other thing that's going to be really neat about it is that they're going to be able to report. I mean, some elevators right now are already doing this. Before an elevator breaks down or when it needs maintenance, it actually calls out over the internet, notifying the company that it's time for service. And if something breaks down, it alerts them what part has broken down. They even now, if the elevators get stuck, will send a call for help before the person in the elevator even responds to get help. Pretty cool, right?
This is really cool. So yeah, we're going to see.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah,
it's only going to get better. But this is why I said to you, Marcus, we have to have this governance. We have to have this way that all these devices are going to have some kind of security that the information cannot be shared when it's personal and confidential. Because imagine sharing information in a pharmacy, and now suddenly other networks learn that information, and that information is supposed to be HIPAA compliant. Well, suddenly gets because it's part of an AI learning robotic network.
I think that's the scary part about this, and those who are listening and watching, I think they are, maybe just as concerned as we are.
Yeah, we're all concerned. I wouldn't tell you to be too crazed about it, but we do have to be concerned and know that it's the message we send our manufacturers and the software developers, because we need to put the pressure on them. Right. And as much as I'm not into politics, I believe that if the manufacturers and the software developers do not respond to our call, then we need to take this and lobby this in Washington. Because if they don't want to do it, it's because of costs. And the only thing I can say to this is that these companies continue to operate if they're not going to play ball the safest way possible.
Exactly. So yeah, that's going to be real crucial. We're going to have to continue to monitor this, and we're going to have to get many of these outside groups ready, have them at the ready to be able to come in, step in, and say, hey, dude, you're not playing fair, you're not being compliant, so you need to fix it up.
We'll keep an eye on it, and I think a lot's going to happen, especially with the new administration. Remember, I told you, Marcus, nothing seems to happen until something causes someone a problem. Whether it's someone gets hurt or whether it's a lawsuit, unfortunately. It's like no one responds until something causes an adverse reaction. Isn't that terrible?
That is very terrible. Unfortunately, this is the world we live in. They rather see it hurt first before it's better.
Well, like we were just talking about the traffic lights before, right? Traffic lights cost $150,000, $300,000. They won't put traffic lights on a corner until there's been enough accidents.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
It's irresponsible. That's what it is.
It is, absolutely. And, speaking about safety, have you ever heard of something called basically an e-scooter? Have you ever heard of something of that?
Oh yeah, definitely. These things are very popular, and quite controversial here in Milwaukee a few years back. Well, 2 years back before the pandemic.
What happened?
They were definitely fighting about if they should be on the roads or if they should be on the sidewalks. So,
well, that concern is coming back up to head again. Right now, a lot of people don't realize that these e-scooters are on public roads, and they're on the same roads that cars and buses are on. And right now, in Europe, I believe it's 300, and I think in New Jersey it's quite close to $400 or $500 fine. So it's about a 300-pound fine in Europe, but I think that's right around 4 something in the United States. And you can get a 6 penalty on your driving license and additional fine for not having insurance.
Oh, wow.
So, but the government is saying that the operating company will provide insurance and it can be ridden. So when you're renting these things, they're putting the onus on the company that is renting out these devices. A lot of people don't own these. They go rent them in a big town or when they're touring somewhere. And the driving license states that things above 15 miles per hour need a license on roads and regions where this is being deployed. And so, they've been trying to get help from the Parliamentary Advisory Council for the Transport and Safety. In fact, David Daves, and I want to quote, says using privately owned e-scooters on UK roads is illegal. So, wow, he really stuck his neck out there, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And he also says there are legitimate safe concerns both for riders and pedestrians.
Wow, he's really putting the hammer down there.
He is. There's been no laws in the United States that have gone that far. But what I can say is that with this type of, let's say, entertainment or recreational cruising type vehicle, it's a concern for people. And I believe that when you get one of these scooters, I think it should be very similar to a boat, Marcus. Remember I was talking about this a few shows back, where I said that when you get a boat, your driver's license is not enough. You need to get a boater's certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they need to have that for scooters. If you have a scooter, you must have a license and you must have an e-scooter certificate. And what I'd like to see is, in addition to the points, I'd like to see them have 4 points. You know, those 4 corners on the certificate. So you get your points, you have your fine, and there's 4 corners. If all 4 corners of your certificate are chopped, you lose your scooter privileges. You're banned for a while, and you have to go back to remedial school to learn how to ride a scooter.
Yeah, that is a pretty. I think it's pretty fair enactment of just regulating these things, because they were pretty out of hand when they came here, and no one knew what the heck to do about them. So I can see the concerns here, and I can definitely understand why our UK friends definitely went on ahead and just said, the heck with them, we're not going to deal with them at all. But you got these rental companies, they're looking to just make the bucks, so you're going to have to deal with them, and they're going to continue to try to push back. So there's a lot of moving parts here.
The thing that's really interesting to me is that, they're allowing these rental companies to do this, right? But I don't want to see this happen. It's just like what happened with theme parks. And you probably remember what happened many years ago with, the water slides. Okay. Mm-hmm. People got very seriously injured. They didn't crack down on things until someone almost split their head open. Or until someone got so bruised they were bleeding, or they came down the slide and they nearly had a broken bone or broken leg or rib. Nobody took things seriously until something happened. And now when you go to these parks, you have to basically sign away your life. And you have to follow all these regulations. And if you don't, you can be kicked out of the park immediately without reason.
That makes sense. And it definitely should be the same. But then again, I still feel like we're behind on this, and when these new novelty things come out, it's really hard to get ahead of them when they're coming out with fun, and then people love fun.
I agree with you, but I'm just going to go back to the same record that I keep going on, and that is no one's going to do something until someone gets hurt, unfortunately, or until it becomes a lawsuit. And that's when the companies are like, hey, you know what? We need to rewrite our policy, or we need to change the way we do this, or maybe we should start monitoring when people go down the slides and actually, flag them, or, radio each other to make sure it's safe that we send someone else down the slide. Yeah, that's a good idea. We had almost $1 million lawsuit last year. Probably a good idea. We buy some radios and we train everybody on saying, okay, you can go. No, you got to wait. Some theme parks even went a step further, and they put the green light system in, whereby you had the radio, but when the slide was red, you waited. When it was green, you could go. And then somebody would literally say, okay, you can go. But all it was a red and a green light. But they were just there to kind of make sure that, you follow those lights. So I think people do want to do the right things, but a lot of times when you're very zealous about playing or you're in the moment, you forget about safety, though, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
All right. Well, on a lighter note, Marcus, speaking about play, our next topic talks about Centurion VR and virtual reality. It's where our world is going. Imagine being able to play cricket, okay? And playing cricket just like you would outdoors in your own home. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That'd be definitely pretty interesting.
I thought you'd say that.
I'm not the cricket guy, but I give it maybe give it a try though at least.
I would too. So let's talk about how it works. So you basically have a bat, okay? Very similar to a cricket bat, has some sensors and whatnot, in that particular bat. And then you would swing just like you normally would. But the question you're probably asking me is, how does it actually track you by just swinging a bat? I mean, when you play cricket, there's so many things that have to be correct for that ball to be in the right spot. And if you don't get that, how are you going to bring that to the virtual world? Right? Could be a problem. So they've come up with a way to do this. And here's how they do it. They have sensors in the room, very similar. They look like speakers. Mm-hmm. And they're up probably around maybe 7-8 feet. And they actually sense the room that you're in. And they can get pretty precise so that when you're hitting that cricket bat, you can actually sense the ball being hit. So I think that's pretty neat. And the thing that's really important about it is that it never work if you did not have all these sensors, because you'd be so frustrated because the cricket bat would seem like you're not able to hit anything. And it's not because you weren't hitting it. It's because you are not really getting picked up for the area that the ball is in. Pretty neat, isn't it?
That is neat. That's really a realistic experience, and that's given some tailored solutions to something that's really a popular game, one of the second most popular games in the world.
So now you can play it indoors with everything happening. They call it the immersive cricket experience. And there's a lot of virtual cricket clubs that are popping up all over the globe.
That'd be great.
So you can play cricket with your friends down the street, or all the way in London, or across the globe, or anywhere that you want, pretty much. And you can get better with cricket. And then when things are better and you go outside, well, you'll really kick some butt when you play cricket with your friends outdoors.
Absolutely.
So that's where things are going. And again, Centurion is the company that has been coming out with this. And if I had to guess, Marcus, I'm guessing this bat's probably around $1,500.
That seems like a good guess.
That's the bat cost, but then I know you also have to buy the sensors. So I think that's also extra. So I think that's the other thing that happens when you get into virtual reality, is that it's not just what you're buying, but you have to have the sensors for the experience. And the more involved the game, the more sensors you're going to need to basically monitor your room.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And boy, that really can drive the costs quite quickly. So if you get motivated by it, by just the experience, I don't think you're going to really care about the price too much.
No, but it's something that you don't just want to get if you haven't played cricket. You know what I'm saying? Yes. I would go play with it before you invest the money. But I think it's definitely something that is going to bring a lot of cricket fans that can't get out and play cricket right now, the experience to playing it and having just as much fun. My only question is this, Marcus. Are you going to get as much exercise playing virtual cricket, because you do swing the bat, as you do outdoors? Because remember, you don't really move around much in your house.
No.
So I think there's probably a lot less energy being burned.
I definitely going to agree with that. I don't think there's going to be any much of movement. You might get a little sweat, but I don't think you're going to get a lot. It reminds me of the Nintendo Wii. There was a big promise with the Nintendo Wii.
Yes.
But how many people
Everybody
actually
thought they were going to lose
that?
hundreds of pounds by just popping in this game, and then you step on the scale, and everybody thought that you were just going to lose so much weight, but really you didn't burn that much. I mean, it was fun. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. But
you really didn't. It didn't do what it was marketed to do. Let me put it that way.
No, it did.
No. So let's talk about more virtual sports, because I'm on this roll here tonight. So I hope you guys like sports. So how many of you out there like baseball? I'm sure you watched baseball before, Marcus, right?
Oh yeah, definitely a baseball.
Do you have a favorite team?
I'm going with the home team. I'm a Brewers fan, so all the way here.
Okay, so I'm going with the Yankees. I've been a diehard Yankees fan for a long time, since Derek Jeter was there and many other players. And what was the guy? There was a Gold Glove. I'm trying to remember his name. He played third base. What was his name? Was it Teixeira? Was it Mark Teixeira? I think he had the gold gloves that he wore. And then there was also Alex Rodriguez, who played shortstop. So really enjoyed it. And in New Jersey, it was interesting because, we had heard several years ago, they closed the Yankee Stadium down and they built a brand new stadium. And it was quite amazing what they did. And I actually got to be at the game, and it was I believe it was the old stadium. It was one of the last games in the series. I got to be there when Derek Jeter, I forget which one it was, but he had one of his milestones. And I got to be there when he hit that. And that was an amazing experience. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. So there's lots of fun in baseball, right? Lots of memories, lots of good times. But, when we think about sports, Marcus, it's really all about how well you play. Yes. That's what it's about. And so the way you measure how well you play is really simple. You measure that by using one of those $3,000 guns, and they could see how well you threw the ball, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe all of you don't have a $3,000 gun, or somebody to sit there for hours and hold that gun while you throw the ball at someone else. So you need something that holds the gun, maybe in a stand. So I wish there was a better way, right? Well, there is.
Right.
There is something called smart baseball.
Oh yeah, that seems pretty interesting.
You want to guess what this is before I even tell you?
I'm going to just say this is going to be virtual reality.
No, but it's pretty amazing things. It's not virtual reality. Remember when I talked about baseball? Everyone that plays baseball is concerned about throwing a better pitch, learning how to pitch better, right? So you have to know your numbers. How do you get your numbers if you're not on a team or you don't have somebody watching you, right? Or a device. So there is a ball called Strike. And this ball by Jingle Tech, TEK, actually, and let me just ask you, so this ball, first I'll tell you what it does, and then I'll ask you what you think it costs. You throw the ball, basically you hit the ball to your glove like once or twice, that turns on the Bluetooth sensors, okay? And then it will communicate with an app on your phone.
Nice.
It'll give you the pitch types, the pitch movements, and the most sophisticated techniques in baseball. It is the world's first smart baseball that captures all the tiny measurements that your human naked eye couldn't possibly fathom. With multiple precision sensors, it will help pitchers attain their optimal performance in baseball for pitching.
Oh yeah, this is revolutionary. Definitely for coaches and athletes that like you said, they want to quantify that data, they want to analyze it, want to increase their training. This is going to be great.
So some of the things that they like to summarize is 4 key measurements: complete grasp of the pitch quality, perfect feel in hand, professional materials, and the wireless charging, uncompromised appearance. The package comes with a smart baseball, very similar to a regular baseball, a wireless charging pad, a smart baseball manual, and a wireless charging pad manual. The product meets the official baseball rules requirements for the United States. In case you're wondering the circumference of it, it's 9.00 to 9.25 inches. For those of you in centimeters, that's 22.9 centimeters to 23.5 centimeters. The weight is 5 ounces to 5.25 ounces. In grams, that's 141.8 grams to 148.8 grams roughly. The size of the ball is 9 inches to 9.25 inches, or 22.9 centimeters to 23.5 centimeters, which is basically the same thing as the circumference. The product surface has a full grain leather, which that's pretty impressive, isn't it? That they put leather on this. Its core has rubber and wood inside it. I guess similar to a regular ball.
You know, I'm looking at this thing now, and this whole science, you know, they're really capturing the science behind pitching, and
Yes.
I can see why it's sold out at this particular moment.
Yeah, so it started at $232.71, and it's on sale now for $161.11.
This is not bad pricing.
It's not a bad price, but I have to tell you something. I'm not sure how well it's going to hold up. So a typical baseball has a life of quite a while. This particular ball, they have a pre-order they're starting now. Do you see the price dropped again to $129?
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned, Marcus, that this price is dropping. This tells me something. A, either they're not selling, really didn't sell out, and they're trying to get more people to buy it. That's really what I think it is. Or they're trying to figure out how to make this product cheaper, which is another concern of mine, Marcus. I don't know if I'm right about that. But, you know, whenever they have something good, a lot of times they try to just cheapen it by making the product cheaper. So I'm not really sure the quality. My feeling is other companies will come out with a product similar to this.
Or maybe that has already happened, and they already trying to get ahead of that.
Okay. It might have already happened. And I have to believe that if you're getting this for professional base, that one's probably going to be like $800 or something. I don't think it's going to be $200 for because remember, this is probably designed for the novice, not the pro.
Yeah,
they don't tell you what the life of the ball is. Do they tell us how many? Sometimes they tell us this. How many? So it has a 48-hour standby time once you've activated it. It has 12 hours of working time for pitching. And it has moisture and dirt protection. And it has Bluetooth 4.0 technology. What do you think?
Well, for 12 hours of working time, I think that's pretty great. I think what they're missing is, like, you know, what is the total life of this thing overall? You know, how many pitches are we going to be able to get out of this thing before it goes ragged? And what do we do what do we do if we just happen to throw it over into the lake or something?
Well, it has a moisture resistance and some dirt resistance, but that's it.
Well, yeah.
And I also was reading.
Do we have a warranty though?
I didn't see really a warranty, but one thing I noticed about it is several people had used it, and they said that it sometimes misses the pitches. So when I heard that indicated to me that this isn't really a premium product.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's interesting is there's actually this product is actually on Kickstarter. So this has gotten me really concerned. They're selling the product, right? And yet they're saying you could order it, but they said it was available. So maybe the product was never available yet.
Yeah. Wow.
This has me really concerned. And they only had 269 backers, total pledging $32,749 to help bring this product to life in 2018. If it was in life, then why are they still asking for more money? And they're trying to make it seem like it's part of a, professional ball club's equipment. But I really don't think this is something the Yankees or the Brewers are going to buy. I don't think it's going to last.
No, I don't think so either. And unless they really trying to drop the price to get people to buy more than just one.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think if you were going to use one of these for a team, you might 10 or 12 of these for a regular practice. I just don't think it could really take the hits. Because you notice what they said here is they said pitches. Nowhere on here did they say anything about you could hit the ball.
No, they don't say that. No.
It said use it to pitch. So that tells me that thing's not going to last too well or too long.
Yeah, and it does says it has an impact of up to 120 miles per hour. It does. I do see that here in a small paragraph here. So, whatever so it's been tested to endure impact of 100.
Yeah. So now, if I'm a really great pitcher and I throw faster than that, what happens? Does the ball suddenly explode? Does it catch on fire like the Ring doorbell did when you go and try to visit your friend and suddenly, you might get a toasted finger or one on fire?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to really be for a pro. So this is definitely
no. This is a fad, and they're going to sell some of them. But I think what's going to happen is people are going to buy them. And they're not happy. Already I was reading the comments with some people saying, and this might be a test market, that they tried it and it missed a couple of the pitches and they had to redo them because it didn't sync with the phone. It didn't say that you could resync it to the phone. It says it missed the pitch. So that means you had to rethrow the pitch. It didn't grab the data. It seems like it can only grab one pitch at a time and then send it. It's not like it can store multiple pitches. It's like sense and send. They also don't know much about the app, do they?
No, you don't.
Yeah. If it was available today, I don't think I'd buy it, Marcus.
No, I had to definitely get more reviews. And get more, insight on this. So yeah, it's definitely missing a lot of stuff.
So going back to my friends, Synapse, that's SYNAPSE, and I'm hoping one of these days that we can actually get them to come out because I think that would be amazing. So they develop all types of virtual reality equipment. They're the ones that did the VR track cricket bat. Okay, they make a Steam controller and they make the Hobgoblin cooktop experience, and I'll explain these in a minute. But the one we talked about, now imagine playing a game, Marcus, right? And as you're playing the game, you actually get to feel and sense what it's like. So let's say, what's one of your favorite games? Let's just take one for example.
Let's go with NBA. 2K. Any other NBA 2K games. So.
So yeah. Basketball, am I correct?
Yep.
So we'll go with basketball. And now, when you play those games, you just pick up the basketball, but you really don't feel the basketball, do you?
Nope.
You see it, right?
Right.
Imagine you going to get the basketball, picking it up with your hands. You have these haptic gloves on you, and now you feel the basketball in your hands.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, imagine playing a game and maybe you get some water on you, and you suddenly feel the water on your hands.
Oh, man.
So, Marcus, this is where we're going with virtual reality. Now, these gloves are not cheap, but the whole idea is to bring the immersive experience of a game into human reality. So how do they do that? Well, you put a glove on, and it's called the Haptics glove, the APTX glove, and it provides you a truly immersive virtual reality experience through haptic technology. And it lets you feel the virtual world for applications such as telerobotics, games like NBA, virtual training, virtual design, gaming, and much more. This product is pretty interesting. And a lot of companies that are building these gloves are having challenges because one of the things they need is this filament. And they can't seem to produce this at a cost-effective way and with the quality they want on a large scale because they don't have all the dyes and the molds.
Yeah.
Thing is not cheap to produce. And but this is where the future is going. And feeling the virtual world with your old hands is going to be kind of amazing. So just being able to sense something, when you pick up something, you grab it, you'll be able to feel that sense in your hands, how heavy it is. And so there's sensors that literally press on your hand in the glove. And there's even other little packets in there that press to basically let you feel moisture. Neat concept, isn't it?
That is a very neat concept, so you can only guess, the imaginations people are going to be having with, with these things. And, they're definitely going to want just more than just the hands. People are going to want, the full body suits. So to get the full.
So I think that's going to come. I don't think it's going to come now, but I mean, because if they know what it is for the hand, then, there's going to be a lot more involved. And I believe that, this type of glove, it's not going to be cheap. Okay. If I had to guess, I'm just going to throw a guess price out there. Oh, I'm going to say we're probably talking around $10,000.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Considering
and
where
that's
we are
where we're
right
at
now.
Now at the prototyping because they cannot get this filament, the sensual level of the glove, made by a lot of places and made inexpensively because they don't have the molds to do a high volume production yet. It is still in its test run phase, but it's going to be something pretty amazing, Marcus, when it does come into a price tag. And I think we're probably going to be seeing something like this when the price tag comes down. I would probably say around a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, just to start seeing it tumbling down, let's know that we're getting closer to just advancing in the technology to make it possible to uh, to do even more things with it. So that's what you want to see when the calls come down. You know that the advancements has been made.
So now let's talk about the Hobgoblin cooktop experience. So talked about VR for a little bit. Imagine having a stove that was really intuitive. You could use voice controls to control it, and you could actually cook intelligently. And the thing about this is that it would be able to not allow you to control itself, but you could use things like Alexa and other devices. But here again, I've warned you about this before. When we connect devices like this to the entire home, I just see that as trouble, Marcus. I really do.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. Because like at any given time, that's unsuspecting hacker, that bad actor can, hey,
Yep.
he's not home. Let me set the house on fire. After I go in and rob it.
So it also has the ability, which is interesting, to actually have you turn on the burner based on your gazing or looking at it. So when it detects your face and you look at a burner, the automatic network controls and the algorithm basically triangulate the burner you're looking at and allow you to control it. I don't know if I'm so crazy about it.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too good.
But this is where they're going, the power of gaze and voice. So they're using the state-of-the-art voice technology to control your stove, and you can use, they call it gazing. And the cooktop infers which burner is being addressed in a voice command by using its camera tracking to know which burner you're looking at. So if you look at a burner and say medium heat, it automatically knows where to turn on.
That's not bad.
Also, when you're looking at the stove and it detects someone too close to a burner, it can automatically omit that burner so that burner does not turn on, causing any type of problem or someone getting burned. So I think the intelligence and the concept of it is great. I just feel it needs some work, Marcus.
Yeah. Just with the security again, just having that in mind, I think that's going to be like the biggest ticket for them to remedy.
But just the way the cooktop is all pretty much touch, it has cameras in it, uses voice control, and it can leverage cooking in a very interesting way. And they had another insight that was due to the limited number of potential commands. So it's possible for the device to pay attention only when the conversation is relevant. So, for example, the cooktop could wake up if it hears words like burner or heat or medium, and then determine if the surrounding words constitute a command or not. So you can take that concept further, and you can leverage the gazing abilities of the cooktop to determine whether the user is looking at the device, and use that to more accurately infer intent to turn on that particular burner. Interesting. It's interesting, but I think it has a ways to go.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm going to put in my kitchen.
Well, we'll take your recommendation on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've even looked at things. They have so I use a KitchenAid professional mixer, and they say they're going to come out with one with voice controls, and I'm even leery about that. See, I like the idea if they can be voice controlled, but what I want to have the ability to do, Marcus, is not connected to an AI network. So
right.
I don't want my voice to go. I want to just use it as an off-network device. And that would be okay for me. But the problem with a lot of these devices is they want to connect to the network to download things. And I'd rather, like with my TV, I'd rather do updates manually. I get the reasons they do it, but I also don't trust what they're doing with the privacy. How many times do you look at ICE or technology and then say, hey, well, what are they going to do with my privacy? There is no privacy policy. They don't publish one on your TV. Well, thank you for buying your Sony, and well, here's your privacy policy. They don't do that.
No, you don't.
So Synapse is also very well known for something called a steam controller. Now, this steam controller does not produce steam that would come out of a kettle or an iron. Their steam controller allows you to basically stream games very fast. So you could have a computer in one room, have your Steam link in somewhere else, and you could literally connect to other places in your home and provide that full immersive game experience.
Oh, this is great for a lot of gamers. This is definitely high performance at its best. I think they're solving a huge issue that many gamers encounter.
I agree. And they even have some other little things, like they have the Steam Link. They have the Nike Fuel Band. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
The Nike Fuel Band, basically with the exciting mission to make the Live Strong band smart and extraordinary low power wearable device to monitor and motivate users during daily usage. So it looks like they're trying to get into the Internet of Things world. And then they have something called a Zolt. You heard that right, Zolt, Z-O-L-T charger. The smallest, it's the smallest laptop power adapter on the market, and it has the ability to not only charge your computer, but to charge 2 additional devices simultaneously. The mechanical engineers work closely with AVOGY hardware team from architecture to manufacturing readiness to achieve the functionality desired within the very bold industrial design. Now, this is nice, but I have to tell you something. That's not anything that great. There's other devices that can do that.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're really new to that. The other big thing they're known for is their Shadow wireless headphones. They can go around your neck. And then the other thing that they're becoming popular for is the Recon Jet. And I think this is really cool and sexy. So an instrument that Synapse has produced, its vision of a smart eyewear device built for athletes. So after going through many renditions and prototyping rounds, they've established this new device and basically allowing you to have the ability to connect with certain experiences and to see them. So what this device is going to do is Synapse has this thing called Reimagine How Expansive Feature Sets Can Be. So the Recon Jet is smart eyewear designed for runners, cyclists, and fitness enthusiasts, and it features a powerful wearable computer jet enabling athletes to see their key performance stats. You knew this was coming, right? So think of it like the Fitbit. Now it's in your glasses. Yeah. I mean, you're going to be walking and you're going to see your stats. You're going to see your heart. You're going to see all this great stuff. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you could eventually watch your own videos on there. I mean, the next thing coming, Marcus, and it's not too far off, is I know we've seen things like haptics, but what they really have to get very specific on, and we'll be demoing one on the show not too far in the future, is when you can use your hands and you could type without a keyboard, and you can actually use them to make things bigger, smaller, and create things with just your hands.
Yeah, it's really the Tony Stark thing, out of the Marvel comics, So and we waiting for this, and I mean Marvel, they do a great job of making you drool over the type of technology you want to see for yourself, have in your home, and these glasses, these eyewear, it's just rendition of those Tony Stark glasses.
Exactly. Now, a lot of the stuff you see in that movie, to be honest with you, isn't really functional. It's It's
Yeah,
basically all made. It's all made up, but
right.
it is. It's not too far off the beaten path. And when we think about these different devices, I mean, they've even tried to come up with a device, that you can, I guess, power yourself up by, going up so many feet in the air. But I don't think they were actually very successful with it because it has to be very heavy, and it's dangerous to make something like that that has a fan above your head that's spinning around, or
Definitely.
suddenly like a jet engine. I mean, that's not today or tomorrow's launching. But those possibilities are not that far away, but they're not tomorrow. So they also came up with something called Snoopy. Now that's SNUPI. And so Synapse is doing a lot of cool things. They have something called Wally, WALLY, and Wally can tell you if your drain is leaking, and they have other sensors and whatnot. But so again, they're tying back into a smart device, which is basically a wireless connection point, and then that ties back into your access point, which would connect back into your phone. In the way they've done it is you literally can just use their device, go to their device, and then go right to your app. So they're trying to make it very easy. And what they've done is they got one that comes with one device and another one that comes with 6. So interesting where Synapse is going, but it looks like Synapse is going to be a very big player for you if you're going to be in virtual reality, because they're the ones that are going to produce that bodysuit. I mean, I could still see it now. If we said it's $10,000 for a glove, roughly, I could see right now that if they had to build one for the entire body, I would probably say we're probably talking at least $100,000, $150,000.
Yeah, very easily.
And then to be able to put that thing on and be safe with it and know how to use it, you're talking a lot. And I got to tell you, if they don't get that right, I can promise you there will be a lawsuit on that.
Yeah, I agree. And this is why they do take their time with rolling these things out. And I could imagine just the tests that they're running constantly around the clock with these particular gadgets. So yeah, we're close, but we're not too close for everyone to have
Exactly. Exactly. So, I think we have to just know that some of these things are great ideas, but they need to put some R&D into them. And if they don't do that, then, as I told you, they're just trying to push a fast product out to the market and not really care about the quality. If you remember, I was telling you about a problem that I discovered many months ago about the wireless technology, the 802.11ax. Well, it turned out a lot of the manufacturers were having issues with the chips. Thousands of them were bad. And they've just recently fixed that problem where you'd be able to connect to the device, and then when you leave for more than an hour, you have to re-put in your Wi-Fi information again if the network was a secured, hidden network. So things like that, I mean, they're not the end of the world, Marcus, but they are frustrating, especially when you're paying top dollar for something you really want it to work.
Absolutely.
So COVID technology and testing is constantly going through lots of iterations. But let's imagine for a moment a COVID-19 technology system that could do a pooled screening for large groups. Now, I'm not talking about a camera system. I'm talking about a system that could literally sense the air. Well, there's a company out called Moby Health that actually announced a product made by the Co-Test technology, but they don't really share too much about it. They just say that you'll be able to test 40 people at once for the price of what one test would normally cost. They're designing this to be released hopefully later in the year for schools and for other places where you need to test large groups And here's the other nice little kicker. You'll have the results for that group within 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, this is pretty amazing. This has definitely got my eyes wide open here, and I'm just wondering, hey, and you can answer the question without me even reading it. Are we going to get these things FDA authorized?
So I think that's going to take some time. It says, the FDA authorized the first COVID-19 test for self-testing at home. But the thing is, that was the FDA self-testing kit. And that was by, it was the LUCIRA. So that was actually done. And what that does, it allows individuals to collect their own nasal samples and insert it into a device that provides results in under 30 minutes. The company is aiming to sell the single-use test for $50. So that's a lot of money for one device and one test.
Yeah.
$50 and you throw it out. So it looks like they've approved the single-use test, but they have not approved this big system test yet. And it also does not tell us, Marcus, the company, actually PLC TTP is the formal name of the company. And they really don't tell us a lot, Marcus, about how they're testing. It's very vague and doesn't really tell us anything. I mean, first they say it's an air test, and they're saying that they could test 40 people at once. So does that mean that they're jabbing 40 people in their nose? So I just don't think, unless they're saying the samples, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's very vague.
No. It almost sounds like, okay, well, we're going to just test like the area and these 40 people, and it's going to notify you that, like, someone in the area needs to be tested because they came back negative. But it doesn't seem too specific though.
No, it doesn't. I mean, at first it looked like they were going to do something with the air. When I went to the site, they're really not explaining too much about the technology. And it looks like there's some type of a cartridge, Marcus, that goes into it. And it says that there is no setup involved and no extensive environment changes that have to be made.
Yeah, I guess those probably the questions that need to be answered in order to get this thing approved. Maybe that's the struggle.
But it's just funny that they don't want to explain that. And in a quote that they make, and I'll quote here, "We believe this technology represents an important step forward in distributed screening capacity, reducing the risk of transmission and allowing organizations to take greater control over their health, security, stay open, and relieve pressure on services." So it sounds nice. But then when they say here that single test was approved, but yet it doesn't look anything like it. So it is very vague, but I'm thinking they did this on purpose. It doesn't tell you whether they're going to stab you up the nose, or it really doesn't say anything. And just looking at that box really doesn't tell you too much, does it?
No, it doesn't. But again,
I get it's some kind of cartridge that you're probably going to... What's that?
Yeah, but the idea of just 40 people at once, going through, that's not bad. That's not bad numbers, especially if you're trying to mobilize a ton of people into one building, it makes sense.
I mean, and the fact that they're going to test them all at once, that would have to mean, so that's why I don't think it's a nose thing, because, I mean, it's saying it's testing them all at one time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to follow. It'd be interesting to see what they're doing. But I think a lot of times they put these things out there just to, get people's information. And a lot of times I think they don't want to share, what's really going on. But we'll have to just kind of watch, what they're doing. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more technology innovations as we move through 2021 and beyond. But I think the most important thing is that, technology is going to be all around us. And the other thing as we are in this COVID age right now, is that what COVID means is more robots. That's what it means. Because COVID can do things and they will not be infected. A robot doesn't get infected. So I'm thinking that, when you do whatever you're going to do, provide a sample, whatever it is, you bring them to a lab, you put them in something, and the device actually does the test for you. Like you do the test yourself, you put the sample in, and then it can literally give you a result. I mean, I almost see that being where our future's going. So let's say you're doing a swab test, you're doing a saliva test, you literally follow the instructions, and then within a few minutes after they get it going, it could give you your results or email it to you or text you or something like that. That's where I think we're going.
Yeah, and that would only make sense because you want to keep things as simple and we want instant, we want less people handling stuff. So this is going to make a ton of sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I'm only concerned about one thing, Marcus. You know what that is, and that's privacy.
Yeah. Yeah, when you got machines handling everything, that's definitely the biggest concern that comes up.
Well, I don't know where our time, but we're just about the end of our show. And again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight to the JMOR Tech Talk Show. We are the place to learn about all different types of technology. We tell you, what technology is. We tell you how it works. And we even help you when you get frustrated and what you should do when it actually doesn't work the way it's supposed to. But if you have an idea for a show, you can visit jmor.com, click on Reach Out button there at the right, and let us know what you'd like to see in a show. Or if you'd like to be a guest or you know of somebody that would like to be a guest on the show, you can apply to be a guest on our site. Please note that this must be something that is of value and it's not a sales proposition. Unfortunately, we do have to discard those. So if you are trying to pitch a product, even if you do have a product and you're just going to come on the show, we really allow that. If you're coming and you have a product, but you're not going to sell the product, but you want to talk about the technology behind it, be more than happy to talk with you. So again, I think we've gotten to the edge of this show. We have lots more great shows coming up. If you have an idea also for a product unboxing, let me know and be happy to do that for you. Or if there's something you want us to dig a little bit deeper, be happy to do that as well. We have a great New York Times bestseller author who will be coming up next month. We actually have a gentleman from the United Kingdom talking to us about how we network and some of the wrong ways to network. Then we also have another gentleman who's known internationally for leading networking virtually. So we have lots of great people. Those are just some of the teasers. And I hope you'll continue to tune in, share with friends and your colleagues. And I thank you, Marcus. I think we had a great night, didn't we?
Absolutely, John. Enjoyed it as always.
It always is great. Well, listen, you all have a great, wonderful weekend. Be smart, be safe, practice social distancing, and please remember to have fun. And of course, enjoy life. Why not go outside and take a walk? You'll be amazed at how much more intelligent you'll be when you let the brain actually take a little break of its own. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, the JMOR Tech Talk Show host, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday night when Marcus and I will both be here at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for tuning in to the JMOR Weekly Technology Show, where we answer your questions about how technology is supposed to work and sometimes why you have challenges getting it to work that way. For more IT support and tips, just text IT support to 888-111. That's IT support to 888-111, and you'll get tips on technology. I'll see you next week right here on the JMOR Tech Talk Show. Remember, JMOR.com.